What's wrong with me? Everything. Hello and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome. My name is Vanessa. This is Vanessa CX Beauty, and today's video is going to be what makeup would I have if I wasn't doing YouTube. And when I really sat down to think about it, I would have less than half of the makeup collection that I have right now, which is hard to think about and gather because I was making calculations on how much money I've spent in 2020 thus far on makeup, and we are approaching $3,000. That's a lot of coin. But this video is in collaboration with Ivory. She is also doing the same exact video. However, she may have very different items because Ivory has very oily skin, meanwhile I have very dry skin, so we may have different tastes. Sometimes we do like align in a sense, but most of the time we don't. So if you are interested in checking her video out, it'll be carded up here and linked down below. So please make sure to check her out. And if you do, let her know that I sent you. But if you're interested in seeing what makeup I would have if I wasn't a YouTuber, just continue watching. Alright, so I did split everything up into categories. The first category I wanted to show y'all was primer, face primer. Because this might, you know, surprise people. I probably have like 20 primers in my collection, but when I really sat down to think about it and thinking about the person I was before starting my YouTube channel, I didn't really need that much. So I put 2 in my collection. I'm sure there probably would be more if there were like more hyped up products, but baby skin, I used to repurchase this like crazy. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I still have baby skin in my collection. I'm positive that this would still be in my collection if I didn't have a YouTube channel. And then, of course, I would definitely have the e.l.f. Putty Primer. I have like 2 backups of this. It's kind of disgusting how many backups of things that I have, but this would definitely be in my arsenal of things just because it was so hyped up and it was so affordable. I know that if I didn't have a YouTube channel, I still would buy this because even though I wouldn't have a YouTube channel, and when I didn't have a YouTube channel, I was still watching Manny MUA, I was watching Nicole Guerrero, and I was watching Caffeine Lights, so I'm positive one of them would have told me to buy this, so I would have. The next category is foundation. I'm positive that these foundations would be in my collection. So this one. And Nicole Guerrero put me onto this, honestly, before I started my channel. This is the L'Oreal True Match, and I am obsessed with this foundation. I've repurchased this way too many times to even count, but this one is always in my bag. I do use this more in the summer months, and it is so beautiful. Beautiful coverage, beautiful lasting power. This foundation used to be super hyped up, and it still should be because it's still one of the best foundations on the market in my opinion. The second foundation that I'm positive would be in my collection is the Double Wear. I also purchased this before I started my channel, and I have repurchased it over the years, and I actually did mention it in my Sephora VIB sale, like recommendations. I do highly recommend this one if you are a full coverage girl. Even though my skin is dry, I still wear this and it still looks beautiful on me, so I'm positive I would still be in love with it because I fell in love with it before I had a channel. The next foundation I would have in my collection is, of course, this. Because it was so hyped up by everybody on YouTube, I'm sure I would have been persuaded to buy it at some point in my life. But this is the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear Foundation, and it's a good one. It's not my favorite, but it would be in my collection because somebody would have persuaded me on the tubes. The next foundation would be the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Foundation, the matte one that came out first. I would definitely have this in my collection just because I fell in love with it. It was so hyped up on YouTube and it was so affordable, so it definitely would be in my collection. I did not buy this for a review. I bought it for me and I love it. I have 3 backups. What's wrong with me? Everything. Another foundation I would have in my collection is, of course, the LA Girl Pro Matte Foundation in Sand. This one, if you know me, you know that I've used this foundation up way too many times and I need to order another one because I used this one up. This one's actually empty even though it looks full. But this foundation is bomb, and it is usually what I use to compare high-end foundations with because I love it so much. It's such a good wear, it's such a good finish, and it compares to almost every single high-end foundation that I have. This one, highly recommend. Another one that I would have in my collection is the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte. Even though I would have this one, I'm positive I would have this one because this one is better than that one, in my opinion. Not gonna lie, it's awesome. I've repurchased it so many times. Even though I have like 30 foundations in my collection, these are the foundations that I would constantly repurchase and empty. Like, I have an empties box and I have a ton of these two and a ton of these two. So that just goes to show how much I do like these foundations. And you know, the probability of them being in my collection is very high, even if I wasn't on YouTube. And even though that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's only 6 foundations. I have like 30. So I tried. The next category is concealers. I do have 4 concealers to share with y'all today. The first one is the most long running in my collection, and I did fall in love with this before YouTube, and I've been repurchasing it ever since. This is one of my most repurchased concealers, I believe. It's the Instant Age Rewind by Maybelline. It's been in my collection since college, since I was like a freshman. So when I first started doing makeup, I got this, and I haven't let it go since. So this one's a definite 100% yes in my book. The next one was one of my first, it was I think my 3rd ever Sephora purchase in my life. The NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. And it stood by me for years, and I repurchased this concealer a shit ton just as well. So these 2 most repurchased concealers in my life. The next one that's kind of like a holy grail, but it got into my, I think it got into my collection right before I started doing YouTube, so I think I would still be in love with it. It's the Flower concealer, the Light Illusion, and it's so good. Mixed in with anything, it makes any concealer more amazing. The next one and last one I would probably have in my collection would be the LA Girl Pro Conceal. The hype went away for these, but it's stayed in my collection since forever, since way before YouTube, I believe. And I used to buy packs of them on Amazon because they were so inexpensive, and I still have them in my collection to this date. So these are actually beautiful. Like, the finish is gorgeous and stunning. They do oxidize a little bit, but the finish is stunning. And it's something that the hype went away for, but it should have never gone away because this concealer is bomb. These 4 concealers would have probably made my life. The rest of my concealers, I'll count them right now. I have 43 other concealers besides these, but most of them were bought because of YouTube, which is crazy. So yeah, these 4 probably would have been my only concealers and my holy grails for the rest of my life. I'm sure another concealer would have like flown by through the YouTube doors, but these were here before YouTube and they would be here after YouTube. So that's how I viewed this entire, you know, challenge kind of thing. The next thing would be my powders. My powders. My Airspun. My Airspun. This is still one of my favorite powders ever. I do have it on today. It's so beautiful. I found this in college and I never let go since. This is probably my 3rd one since college. This lasts so long and it's so inexpensive, and I think it's a beautiful powder that I always use. Oh, the smell though. The next one, I have repurchased this like 3 times, I believe. This is the Wet n Wild Mega Glow Contour Palette. And I don't know if I have the shade on this one, but I always hit pan and I always repurchase. I believe one of them broke before, and this one is my newest one. But this shade I use a lot. This one I do have a dent in, but I didn't quite hit pan yet. And this one would definitely still be in my collection. The next one is a contour palette. And it would probably be my only contour palette in my collection because I never needed anything else but this in my life. And I did buy this before YouTube. This is my Kat Von D Shade and Light contour palette, and you can see I hit major pan on a few of these, and I feel like all of my other purchases were because of YouTube, were because I was trying to build up my collection, but this one has always stayed tried and true. It's really good quality and I would not let it go. Next up, I don't have a bunch of these anymore, but the Color Icon blushes from Wet n Wild. I would have a whole bunch of these because before this year, I wasn't even into blushes. And I think I'm into blushes now because more like influencers are coming out with them. But if I wasn't on YouTube, I would definitely have a whole bunch of Wet n Wild blushes. But this one I have, this is the only one I have to show right now. I didn't want to like mess up my whole blush jar, but this is Pearlescent Pink. I'm in love with Mellow Wine. I know it's somewhere in my collection and I don't know where it is right now, but Mellow Wine is my favorite blush from Wet n Wild, and I'm positive I would have a whole bunch of Wet n Wild blushes in my collection if I didn't have YouTube. The next thing, y'all know I said I watched 3 people. I would probably have the blush palette from Manny though, because I would still be watching him, I think. But I watched Nicole Guerrero like crazy back then. She's not as active now, but when she was active, this was limited edition, but the Anastasia times Nicole Guerrero, it came back last year and I bought 2 more of them. But this one is so pretty, and I think the only highlighters I ever need in my life if I wasn't on YouTube. Point blank. The next thing in my collection that I would probably have are setting sprays. I would probably have 3 setting sprays, but I don't have the Scandinavia one right now. Scandinavia was my true love before YouTube. Their setting spray, their bridal mist, amazing. But I would also have the all-nighter because I had this before YouTube and I still have it now. I have about 27 setting sprays, but I would probably only have 3 if I didn't have YouTube. I would also have the Wet n Wild matte finish setting spray in my collection alongside the Scandinavia bridal mist because that was good and I should probably repurchase it, but I've been trying to not buy any more setting sprays because I have a hard time finishing them, so I'm gonna wait. The most recent one that I did purchase was the Hourglass one though, and I don't know if I'm ever gonna finish half of these in my life. The next thing I would have in my collection would definitely be these 2 eyeliners. This is my tried and true combo for my like entire life after I started applying eyeliner. The Maybelline Line Stiletto, amazing. And this one, my best friend actually showed me this one. This one is the Revlon Color Stay Skinny, and these 2 make the perfect wing, so I definitely think that these would be in my collection tried and true forever. I have repurchased these a few times, but this has been my regimen since college. Next up would be my eyeliner. I would only need 1 eyeliner, and that would probably be the black Marc Jacobs eyeliner for my waterline. I would probably not go crazy with color because I did buy like crazy colors just for YouTube. Like when I was first starting out and only doing eyeshadow palette reviews, I would buy crazy like waterline colors. So if that were to never happen, I would only have black, and I would probably only have this one and maybe like another drugstore one. Next up is my eyebrow pencil. I would only have the NYX Micro Brow. I have like about 5. I don't stray too far away in terms of eyebrow product because once I like something, I like something. But I would definitely have the NYX Micro Brow in my collection. Then for liquid lips, I definitely think that my entire collection would be made up of ColourPop liquid lipsticks and Wet n Wild liquid catsuits. That's just me. I don't think I would buy any other lipstick. I don't think I would have any Jaclyn Hill, any Becca, any Jeffree Star, any L'Oreal. I'm just looking that way. I don't think I'd have any Fenty or anything. I think I would only have ColourPop and Wet n Wild. So do what you will with that. And the last category is eyeshadow. I would have this one, the Sephora Primal Instincts, because this one was my first eyeshadow palette that I ever bought. I don't use it anymore, don't worry. I would have all of the mini Wet n Wild eyeshadow palettes. All of them, probably. I would probably have most Juvia's Place eyeshadow palettes because they were so overhyped. So I would definitely think that I would give in and buy a few of these, if not all of them. Just to show you a couple, I would definitely have these. And I'm 1000% sure I would have bought this when it came out, the James Charles palette with Morphe. I would have had this in my collection. Even though it came out while I was doing YouTube, I would still have purchased it. And then the Soft Glam, of course. This one was the first Anastasia eyeshadow palette that I fell in love with. And I would definitely have this in my collection 1,000 times. Yes, and I did buy this before starting YouTube. So I definitely would have Soft Glam in my collection. I'm positive I would have other palettes in my collection, but these are like some staples that I know would probably be in my collection if I didn't have YouTube. The last thing I kind of wanted to talk about was eyeshadow brushes. I would probably have none of these. I would probably only have the Anastasia brushes. Just saying. And then in terms of face brushes, I would probably only have Real Techniques brushes, to be honest. And that is everything that I think I would have in my... Oh, wait. Eyeshadow primer. I would probably still have the P. Louise Eye Base because YouTube made me buy it before I even had a channel. So I would definitely have this, but nothing else. But yeah, I think that's it. That is completely it. JK. A beauty blender. I would definitely have a beauty blender. But that is everything that I think I would have in my collection if I didn't have a YouTube channel. Which is crazy to think about because that's not even half of my collection. It's not even half. Ugh. I feel so disgusted by myself. And remember that this is a collab. So Ivory Cherry did do this same challenge. So please check her video out. Again, it is in the cards and linked down below. Let her know that I sent you. But that's all I have to say. Have a great day or night wherever you are in the world. And I hope to see you soon. Bye bye.